Yesterday I was changing the machine because I have the ability to make it a free machine for private events. And so I was changing it back to a paid machine. And I thought, man, I did not see vending machine repairman like on my resume.
Yeah, exactly.
But add it now.
Yeah. Welcome to The Localist, a conversation with local makers and independent entrepreneurs. I'm your host, author of the Localist book, and former small business owner, Carrie Rollwagen. Today we're talking with Jessica Leitch, the artist behind Little Red Print Shop. Little Red Print Shop is a Linocut business here in Birmingham. Jessica makes fun, colorful prints that she creates herself. She hand cuts the block for printing, inks the block, and makes the prints from there. She even has a little red vending machine that she uses as a sort of pop-up business. She sells tiny prints from it. Little Red Print Shop has been in different locations around Birmingham, but you can always find her prints at Calla Coffee and Little Professor in Pepper Place. So welcome to the podcast.
Thanks for having me.
Okay, so I kind of want to dive in with the vending machine, and then you're doing a lot more stuff. But I do feel like that's something that as soon as I saw it, I was like, oh my gosh, how are you pulling that off? And like, because to me, I just think things are going to get stuck and all this stuff, but it's so cute. And then I want to talk more about what you do. But how did you just think, I want a vending machine and find one? Did you run across one? Like, how did that happen?
Yeah, so I was, scrolling Instagram, as we all do, and I had seen other printmakers do vending machines. So there's quite a few out there, and they put their prints in vending machines, and I was like, oh, that's a real cute idea.
Yeah.
And a very fun way to get accessible art out to the masses, because they're sticker and tattoo vending machines. Like, I literally Googled sticker and tattoo vending machine and found a website that sells them.
Yeah.
And bought one. So it wasn't like I didn't find it on eBay and score this old machine and restored it. Like, I bought this brand new.
Yeah.
And figured out how to size my tiny prints, carve tiny blocks that would fit on the right size, and then all of the prints are $1 because you can only put 4 quarters in the machine.
Yeah.
Which makes it an accessible art piece, right?
Yeah.
It's just $1.
Yeah. So was there, because it was new, was it, well, I guess less trial and error, but was there trial and error as far as this is getting stuck or this isn't working, or was it just it kind of worked out of the gate?
Honestly, there were enough YouTube videos that I walked myself through it. I learned kind of how to put the machine, because it comes in parts.
Yeah,
and I put it together, and the only trial and error was sizing the prints to fit in the little cardboard sleeves.
Yeah.
And sometimes somebody will put a gunky quarter in, and I'll get a call from Calla. It's like, hey, your machine's a little stuck, and so I just run by and grab a coffee and fix the machine. Yesterday I was changing the machine because I have the ability to make it a free machine for private events. And so I was changing it back to a paid machine, and I thought, man, I did not see vending machine repairman on my resume. Yeah,
exactly.
But add it now.
Yeah. Well, how do you, when you bring it to, because it travels around, right?
It does, yeah.
Is it just you lugging the machine out of the car and you're
100%. It's me. I roll in with the base comes separate. It's a pretty heavy base to hold the machine and balance it out. And I come lugging in the base. I'm like, hey, I'm here with my vending machine.
Yeah.
And then I bring the top and it spins on, and then it's set up. So it's really easy. It's in 2 to 3 pieces depending on how I carry it around. But it's it's portable enough that it can move around really easily.
Yeah. Yeah. So did the name come from the vending machine?
100%. Yeah. I had been doing some Linocut work prior, and then I saw kind of other people doing this vending machine, and I thought, oh my gosh, this is so fun. Birmingham would love one of these, I think. I didn't actually know, but I thought I love one of these, and I'd love to bring it to Birmingham. Yeah. And I have lost track of the question. What was the original question?
No, just the name, was it?
Oh, the name itself, yes. I was working under my name, Jessica Leitch, as an artist, and I saw the vending machine, and it's red. And I was chatting with a friend of mine who I was coincidentally meeting for coffee, and I was like, I think I'm going to buy a vending machine. And also, I think I should call it the Little Red Print Shop, because it's a little red print shop. Mm-hmm. And she was like, yes, that makes total sense.
Yeah. Well, it's really cute. And then even if, because you sell at all these other places, but it's still a cute name for printing.
Yes. It makes, it's the brand itself grew from the Little Red Print Shop vending machine, but it definitely encapsulates all of the artwork I do and all of the workshops and everything. So it is nice that the name has kind of been able to carry through everything.
Yeah. Well, you mentioned Birmingham. I kind of wanted to talk about how you've made connections here. I asked around, we asked on Instagram, like, for questions and things like that. And somebody who I think is friends with you said she's not from Birmingham and has really intentionally, like, kind of made those connections. So I guess, is that true? And then also, like, how has that happened? Like, has that been intentional? Has it just kind of grown, or what?
Yeah, so I moved to Birmingham 3.5-ish years ago. My husband's job is based here, and so we moved here. And I was working remotely, so I, like, wasn't really getting out of the house. I didn't have, like, a network of people. And so I looked at Instagram and was like, who are these people doing cool things in Birmingham? And like, search. I actually found your website and was like looking at the Localist. It was, I think you did a coffee shop list. Yeah. And I was like, this is somebody I want to know, because she goes to all of these coffee shops. And so it just kind of happened organically with DMing people on Instagram, and then going to creative events and finding kind of places in the community where I might fit in. When I lived in St. Louis many, many years ago, I did a lot of creative things there, and I had a really good creative community, and I wanted to foster that in Birmingham. And so I just I followed the people online that I wanted to make connections with, and then started meeting them in real life.
Yeah, I think that's awesome.
Yeah.
I think it's... So you didn't move right from St. Louis,
we hopped. My husband and I hopped around. We've lived in like Tahoe and DC and Houston. We came from Houston to here, so we've kind of been nomads for the last 10 years.
Well, I'm from Kansas City, so that's what I'm asking. The Kansas side, but
clear distinction there.
Yeah, I do feel like it counts in the Midwest, like, not versus the South, but like it's still close. It's still close-ish, but it is important. So, I think that's awesome and helpful, because I do think some people find it kind of like hard to break in, but it does seem like, I mean, I've lived here for a while, but it seems like, if you hit somebody up and are like, I like your work or whatever, most people take that pretty well.
Yes, for sure. And I owe the success of the Little Red Print Shop to the community, who has been really generous with their time and their space and their advice, and just, really supportive. Like, the Little Professor, even before the print shop, has just been like a great kind of third space, and finding those third spaces helped me build community, because I would see people over and over at Kala and make that connection. I would talk to Meredith at Little Professor every time I went to a book club, and so kind of having those spaces that I could go and do things helped me foster that community as well.
I think so too. That's one of my favorite things about buying local. I'm pretty introverted, like, in reality, not in, like, podcast world, I guess, but, like, I do think having kind of that third place that you're used to going into, and people start connecting with you and just having little conversations, is really helpful when I don't just naturally walk into a room and, like, talk to people,
100%. I feel the same way. Like, I would not walk into a room and be like, okay, who am I going to, like, chat with right now? I would be like, can I hide behind this book? And, like, survey the room.
Yeah. But having that little coffee conversation or book conversation is a really good opener.
Yes.
And they've both been on the podcast. We'll link them in the show notes, but they were both great. So, obviously. Okay, so it started with it didn't really start with the Little Red Print Shop, but kind of like that.
That catapulted it, yeah. Right, okay. That I was doing some Linocut. I had done Linocut maybe 10 years ago, and I broke out the tool last summer, and was like, I had a dusty old block that was like falling to pieces. But I was like, I'm going to try to carve something. My kid's really into strawberries. I'm going to do that. Yeah. And so I carved it, and I posted pictures of it on Instagram, because I was like, look at the stuff I'm making. And people were like, can I buy this? And I was like, can you buy this? Actually, maybe
Sounds like a good idea. Yeah. Yes. So were you working as an artist before, or were you working as a designer, or was that just completely a hobby?
Yeah, that was totally a hobby. Okay. I've always had. I worked in brand marketing for a really long time, and that was my day job. And this was I've painted. I've taken clay, hand building classes. I just like to do creative things and try all of the creative outlets, and Linocut kind of stuck this last year, which is it's a very satisfying medium to me, because you get instant gratification. like knitting is great, but like hours and hours and hours of knitting, and I can't read patterns to make a sweater, so like knitting is just very hard for my brain.
Yeah.
But Linocut, I can carve something out and then immediately print it and see, and it's so satisfying to like see what you've carved when you make the print, and then you just it's immediate.
Yeah.
And so that's been really satisfying.
Yeah.
And I can make multiple of them from the same thing, which was my struggle with painting. I really like painting.
Yeah.
But then there's just the one piece, and so that's another reason I like the block printing.
Yeah, as far as like making accessible art, it seems like that if you can do something repeatedly, it's easier to get it to a lower price point.
100%, and it's still a handmade piece. It's still an original piece, and you'll see that if you look at some of the art pieces, you'll see where there are lines and kind of the print is a little bit different each time because they are all hand printed.
Yeah.
So I like that aspect that it's still original. It's still a handmade piece. But for me as the artist, it's easier to replicate over and over. Yeah,
you can see the lines. You use, obviously, good paper that has texture. And I feel like also you can kind of see the paint lying on top of it, too. Yeah. So it's, like, obviously a handmade piece. It doesn't, which is really cool. Obviously, like, I have some prints, and then I had the advent calendar also.
Yes, the tiny print advent calendar.
Yeah, so that was very exciting. Well, because also I was like, well, I can buy the advent calendar, and then I'll have all these little prints. So I could use it over and over as an advent calendar or just frame like for the prints or something like that. And
my mom actually used the prints as gift tags last Christmas.
Oh, that's
she would like
cute.
open the advent calendar and then like use the prints as gift tags for presents.
That's really cute.
Yeah. I love that they like got second and third uses. That's great.
Yeah. So when you have an idea like the advent calendar or what, are you like, what's your process for finding ideas? Do you just see something, you're like, oh gosh, I could do that? Or, because I think you have like some Halloween prints and something, some other holidays.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah.
Holidays kind of play into it a little bit. If it's, Halloween was fun. Yeah. Lots of people loved those ones. Valentine's went crazy. Everybody loved the Valentine's prints, which is so funny to me because Valentine's doesn't really register as a holiday for me that much. But like the Valentine's prints sold out twice, which was amazing. So kind of seasonally, the advent calendar, I was actually like looking at advent calendars for my kid, and I was like, oh, like what's out there? What can I do for her this year?
Yeah.
And I saw these like other, like a tea advent calendar and a coffee advent calendar, and I was like, what if I made 24 tiny prints into an advent calendar and just kind of rolled with it?
Yeah.
And it was a lot of work. I only did 35 of them because I printed something like 24 times 35, whatever that number is. I think it's in the 700s.
Yeah.
And I had to carve like 24 new blocks. And it was just like, I took it, I like had this idea in October and then wanted to get it out in November. So it was kind of a rushed idea that worked out really well for me, and I'll bring it back this year. I've already had people messaging me in March and April being like, hey, are you doing the Tiny Prince Advent calendar again? So it was a hit.
Yeah. No, I was wondering because everything came in an envelope, obviously, so it had like the number. Yeah. So you also had to print the numbers.
I did.
And I did like it came with like the twine and the little bitty clothespins. Yeah. So I was thinking like I'll have to find that stuff, but no, it was all together.
Yeah, no, it was my like I wanted something that when you opened it up you didn't have to do any extra work for it. That it was just something that you hang. But I did have to source lots of different things all over the internet to find, and like finding an envelope that is the size, because the tiny print is a really strange size to fit into the cardboard sleeve in the vending machine. And so finding an envelope that fit it was just like pure luck that the internet had this size envelope that fits the tiny print.
Yeah, I didn't even think about that.
Yeah.
Well, and also these have to dry, right? So like, how do you have a space? You do this at home, is that correct? So, and you have a toddler, or how?
I do, yeah, like, she's 2.5.
Okay, so how do you have, like, I used to do a tiny little screen printing thing in my house, and I would like, prop up all the cards to dry for hours or whatever, but how do you have like so many like tiny prints, advent calendars, all this stuff, and even have how do you dry them or like store them?
I guess. Thank you, Facebook Marketplace, for that rack that I bought. Yeah. I was doing it all in my kitchen for a while, like when I first started, and I had a rack that sat there, and it was kind of like Charlotte, please don't touch these prints.
Yeah.
And she was pretty good about it.
Yeah.
But that we have in our guest room, there's like a walk-in closet, and it was just like holding all my husband's tools. And I was like, hey, I think it's time to move your tools and make this a tiny closet studio. So I do have a tiny closet studio that has a bit of drying space, but I also do them in rounds. So the ink I use takes like 24 hours to dry.
Yeah.
So I'll do rounds of prints. So I'll be printing like every night during the week.
Yeah.
But not, I don't print them all at once. I print them and then I scoot them off the drying rack and then I add more onto the drying rack. So
yeah. Well, I mean, it's a process.
It is definitely a process. Yeah.
So for the vending machine, is that more because you're selling them for $1, so there's a lot of labor to go into $1. So are you making a profit on those, or is it more like the vending machine is kind of like not a loss leader, but kind of like it's a really interesting thing that connects people to your brand?
The vending machine is a promotional tool.
Yeah,
it's not a source of income, for sure. Yeah. I've actually looked into doing some different prints in there that are not the hand-printed ones, just because the cost of $1 print and all of the labor that goes into it does kind of not balance in the black.
Yeah.
But it also, like you said, connects people. It gives people a little bit of joy, and then they know the Little Red Print Shop makes these prints and can see kind of bigger prints around town.
Yeah. Well, and that's how I saw a vending machine. I was like, oh my gosh, that's so cute. And then I think I followed you on Instagram because of that, and then I saw the advent calendar. So I do think that does work.
Yeah.
This is a very specific random question, but do the places you have people asking them for quarters all the time?
Yes.
Or, okay, yeah.
No joke. I have $100 in quarters in my bag right now that I'm dropping off at Little Professor.
Okay,
right
so you're actually changing out the...
Yes. Yeah, if they ask for them. Some, like Kala and Little Professor, because they're mainstays for the vending machines, I will go do like a quarter trade for them every once in a while just to make sure they're stocked up.
I mean, that's an amazing, we just read like Unreasonable Hospitality, and I feel like as a to-year vendor, it's really unreasonable hospitality to be like, I know people are going to be asking you for quarters, so let me change them out. Is really awesome.
Yeah. I mean, I'd like to think through everything so that the end customer doesn't come to you and say, hey, can I have quarters? But you're like, oh, I'm out of quarters. Like, I want it to be a good experience for both the host of the vending machine and also the person trying to get a print from the vending machine. But also people roll up with their rolls of quarters that they got from the bank and are ready. No joke. I've seen people come with their rolls of quarters to get all of the prints in a vending machine, which is the most fun and the most flattering thing to me. I love that people are so excited about these prints.
Well, and that's so cool. Because you can also sit in the coffee shop or sit at Little Professor, do you feel like a spy when you're watching that, or are you wanting to say that's mine, or
spy sounds a lot cooler than I feel. I mean, a little bit. I'm having coffee or I'm working and answering emails and I see somebody get excited about it and dig in their bag for quarters and I'm sitting there creeping on them. I feel like a little bit of a creep more than a spy. But it's so fun. I never say anything because that is so weird to me to be, oh, thank you for buying one of my prints. I'm just let you have that moment, and it brings me joy to see you getting fun out of that moment. So it's really fun for me to see it.
Yeah.
I never interact with that person.
No, I mean, I think that's probably best, but but it would, I would think it would feel pretty cool to
it feels super cool.
Yeah. So at Little Professor, you I don't know if you have a vending machine or you have a wall of prints there now, right?
Yeah, I have both. So they have a permanent vending machine, and I emailed Meredith and I was like, hey, I don't want to open a retail shop because gosh, that sounds really hard and a lot more money than I have currently.
Yeah.
But I do want a space that people can see all my prints all the time because I've done a lot of markets and pop-ups and will continue to. But it was really nice to have a permanent space. And Meredith was like, 100%, I have a wall for you.
Yeah.
Let's go.
That's awesome.
It's so awesome. Meredith has been so wonderful. Anytime I've been like, hey, I want to try this, she's like, yes. Yeah. Let's do it in our space. Let's see what happens. Yeah. And the response has been really great.
Yeah.
And it's great. I have a farmer's market collection that I've kind of been rolling out over the last month. And with the Pepper Place Farmer's Market there, it's a good fit.
Yeah, exactly. So how does running a market work for you? Do you have a booth everywhere? Do you share, or did you kind of stumble into that? Tell me about what that process was like.
Yeah. So when was, gosh, I don't even remember the first market that I did. something in the holidays, I'm sure.
Mm-hmm.
Actually, even before that, I asked Meredith at Little Professor, I was like, hey, can I just pop up here on a Saturday morning? And she was like, we would love to have you in store on a Saturday morning. So I go and pop up for 4 hours and sell my prints as a little pop-up. And so I've done that at a couple different places. I did that at Cala Coffee as well. And I just pop up my table with all of my prints, and I'm there for a few hours. For bigger markets, like I did the Cahaba Market, and I've done a market with Studio by the Track. So I've kind of plugged into community markets around. And then in February of this year, I was chatting with Kala about doing a pop-up pre-Valentine's Day. And I was also chatting with a couple other small businesses in the area, makers. And Josh was like, yeah, you can use our whole patio. Like, let's fit as many vendors as we can, which turns out to be 6. Like, it's not a ton. It's a small space. But we had what we're calling the Local Love Market.
That's awesome.
In February. And then we did another one in March at Houseplant Collective. So it's kind of made its way. It's popping up around. We're doing one at Little Professor in Homewood in April 26th.
Yeah. In
the morning. And then another one at Kala in June. So it's kind of a fun market series where other creatives, makers, small businesses in Birmingham get to jump in and kind of sell their goods. And it's been really fun. The folks coming out want to shop local, which is great. And they want to connect with these people making these goods. So, and it's a much smaller market too, which sometimes the bigger ones can feel overwhelming. There's a lot going on. So it's been really fun to do these smaller ones.
Well, and I feel like for the big markets, there's also a big investment of, like, first of all, can you even get into Pepper Place Market? Yeah. I think that's kind of tough. And then it's like you running a whole booth, and it's just like a whole deal. Yeah. It does seem like a smaller market, or a market in a pop-up in a shop is like, it's still a deal, but not the same level.
It's way more accessible. Like, I would love to be at Pepper Place. I just was kind of just starting out when their application was due last year, and so they're pretty tight on there. It's only in maybe September that you do the application. And then that's for the next year. So there are some markets where I've just missed the deadline for those bigger things. But it is nicer, and all of these places have been so accommodating to be like, yes, come into our space and use it. It's like here for you. Yeah. Which is nice because obviously I don't have a physical space. So it's been great.
Yeah. Well, that's fun. So are those markets kind of like, are they just your group that's put together, like, are you connecting them? Is it the shop? Okay.
Yeah, for the Local Love ones, it's me. Yeah. It's all folks that I know. Yeah. So Josh at Cala Coffee and Meredith at Little Professor, Jess at Houseplant Collective. I've kind of reached out and been like, hey, I would like to pop up here with some other people. Yeah. And they're like, yes. Yeah. Come and use our space.
I think something like that is kind of nice too. I think other like a market that has just a variety is also cool, but I kind of like it when it's a little more curated. Yeah. And it's like, if you like this, you're probably going to like the other things.
Yes.
So yeah, I think that's helpful, and then you have everybody obviously promoting it. And, that's cool.
It's been really fun.
Yeah.
I've really enjoyed doing it. It's not what the Little Red Print Shop was going to be, but events, I have a background in events, and so it just kind of felt natural to be like, hey, let me throw a couple more people onto this pop-up and make a bigger thing about it.
Yeah. So you have a background in events and branding.
Yes.
It seems like those come in handy.
Super handy, yes, yeah. I don't think the Little Red Print Shop would be where it is if I didn't have a background in marketing or a background in events and logistics.
Yeah. Yeah. So is that, I mean, does it feel fun? Does it feel like, okay, well, I don't have a budget like I did before? Or is it kind of like, I'm getting to promote something I love? Like, how is that different than when you did it for a company or whatever?
I mean, previous employers, close your ears, but it's so much more fun. Yeah. Because it's something that I'm creating. It's something I'm really proud of. Mm-hmm. And it's fun for me to connect with people who are buying my art. Like, that is the coolest thing to me, is somebody is looking at this and being like, I want to hang this in my house, or I want to gift this to my sister, and like coming and buying something that I made. So marketing that has been way more fun. Yeah. And it's just, for me personally, it's easier for me to market something that I am deeply invested in than something that I'm just like, not.
Yeah, no, exactly. Yeah. I think that makes total sense. Like I'm like, I wish people could hire you as a consultant. Maybe they can't. Maybe that's not what you want to do. But I do think those sides of it are a struggle for a lot of people starting out. Like, because they don't know what to do with branding, marketing, markets. And so a lot of times it'll take like 3 years to kind of struggle through it and make a lot of mistakes before you figure that out.
Yes.
So it is kind of nice to be like, I actually know what to do. Like,
yeah, and not that I've even known what to do. I've a lot of folks have felt like getting all of the business side of things has been hard. And I don't know if that's a Birmingham thing or if that's just owning a business thing.
I think it's both.
But finding the resources that you need has been challenging. And so, folks have been, like Jess Watts at Houseplant Collective has been so generous with her advice and help in here's where you get these licenses and here's what you need to do next and here's the site where you pay your taxes. Because there's no one-stop shop that's telling you all of this stuff right now.
It's pretty normal. I don't think I know a business owner that I've talked to about this that isn't like, oh, I owed these taxes that no one ever told me about. How could I have ever known? It's like 2 years later. And I'm like, whoops.
Yeah. Like, you don't know until you know. Yeah. But nobody's telling you what to know. So.
Yeah, I think before I owned a business, I had this idea that there was it was just an organized list. Operating as a consumer and as a business owner are totally different. Even with vendors, I feel like as a consumer, people are supposed to send me the stuff. Like I order a thing online, it comes to me. It comes on time, or they give me something if it doesn't. Vendors is kind of like, it wasn't there, deal with it. Like it's just so, everything is different. It's so much chaos.
Yeah. And it's, I would love if there were just a checklist of all the things to do to open a business. And there's, if you Google it, there's lists out there, but you're like, who is telling you this information? Am I missing a step?
Right.
So without paying lots of money to somebody to set this all up for you is a little, and I didn't have lots of money to set all this up because at the time I started this, it was a side project.
Yeah.
It was
You're
my
paying
nights
them
and
in
weekends.
quarters.
Exactly. I'm rolling up with my with my bag of quarters. Here's my check. Thanks.
Yeah.
So that part was hard, but the, kind of the pop-ups and the events and kind of how to build the business slowly in the community, I feel like I knew a little bit of how to do it from just doing that for work, and then obviously chatting with a lot of these community partners was really helpful.
Well, is the main way that I follow your Instagram, is that the main way you get information out, or are there other...
Yeah, so Instagram is a great way. I will post all of my workshops and pop-ups there. I also have an email list on my website, thelittleredprintshop.com. Yeah. And you can sign up to get emails. I send 1 email a month. Yeah. Maybe 2 if I'm feeling it, but you get 1. You're not getting overly spammed. Yeah. And it just lists all of the events and happenings for the month.
Yeah, that's awesome. Well, and I think that email lists, I feel like have kind of come back in the past few years or whatever. Yes. I think somebody told me 60% of nonprofit funding comes from newsletters. I don't know if
I believe it. I mean,
that's correct, but when
I worked in brand marketing, the majority of our sales came from email newsletters versus seeing something on Instagram. So Instagram is a great place for me to connect with a new audience, and obviously I can make a reel showing my process a lot easier on Instagram than I can send it through email. But email is a great space for workshop signups for me and just connecting in a different way. Yeah.
Okay, so we've talked a little about events, and then you mentioned workshops. Can you tell me what, especially the workshops, what does that involve? What happens at a workshop? How did this come about?
Yeah. So I have a couple different workshops that I do. I have just your basic Linocut printing. So folks come, totally beginner friendly. I provide templates, or they can bring their own artwork. I teach them how to transfer the image onto the block and carve the block fully. And then we print that image and they leave with finished prints. So it's a 2-hour workshop, start to finish. You're learning the whole process. It's very simple. You don't have to be overly artistic to do it. Yeah. It's a very fun, hands-on tactile thing.
Are they drawing their own image, or is it you have something?
They can, or I provide templates of things that they can use that image and carve that. So up to them on how artistic they want to get.
Yeah.
And I have my class is split about 50-50. 50% of folks come in with something that they want to draw or they're drawing there, and 50% come in with either something that they've printed off or using one of the templates.
Yeah.
So it's fun. And then I have a printmaking DIY, which is like an ink your own print. So I bring pre-carved blocks.
Okay.
So the carving aspect is out of it.
Yeah.
And it's a cheaper price point too. And then you print 2 prints. So you learn like the inking process and the transfer process, but you don't have to carve anything.
Yeah.
And those happen at breweries a lot.
Yeah.
So it's like a very fun like DIY. It takes you, 30 to 40 minutes to come out and print that.
You can go with like a friend and just like hang out and Yeah. That's awesome.
So those are kind of my 2 options. And I've done the workshops I do monthly at Call of Coffee, and then I have a 2-color workshop at Make Beham. So I teach you how to print with 2 colors on a print, and those are also monthly. And then there's a couple other workshops that pop up around town.
Yeah. So you can almost go through a whole process. You could go to inking first, and then you could go to the one where you cut it, and then you can do a multi-print. And
I have had people do
up.
exactly that. Yeah. Yes, they come. So the Ink Your Own Print came about because I worked with Chasm on her craft club at Cahaba Brewing, and so I joined her for a couple sessions, and we did the Ink Your Own Print for folks, and a lot of those folks were like, wait, we really like this, and then they came out to a workshop.
Yeah.
And then if they want to level up and do 2-color, they can come to Make Beham and do some 2-color workshops, which is fun.
When you do 2 colors at the same block, or is it okay?
This class it is. Yeah. There are some blocks I use that are 2 different blocks, but that's a little bit more involved, and you have to account for drying time, so it's more like a 2-day. Maybe in the future we'll do those, but for right now it's called a jigsaw block. So you carve it all together, and then you cut it where the colors are going to be different, and then you ink it separately and put it back together like a puzzle.
Okay, interesting. Yeah. All right. Yeah. So different than screen printing, but still finicky.
100%, yes. I mean, we do a lot of test printing before we do our final prints so that folks can kind of get an understanding of it. But yeah, it's very much like I cross my fingers every single time I pull a print up that transferred properly, or I rubbed hard enough, or I put enough ink on the block.
Yeah.
Screen printing is a whole nother beast.
Oh, yeah. Oh, cool. So you have them at breweries or at Cali Coffee. So there's like people can hang out, get something to drink, all that stuff. Yes. And then did the events come from the workshops, or did you do events first, or like how does?
I did workshops first. Okay. Studio by the Tracks actually reached out and was like, hey, we'd love for you to come teach a workshop. Yeah. And so I put together a whole plan for a workshop, and it went really well. And I thought, man, I really love teaching people how to do this.
Yeah.
And it really snowballed from there. And now I think in April I have 4 or 5 workshops that I'm doing that vary from like the basic all the way up to the 2-color.
Yeah.
And it's really fun for me to get to share it with folks.
Yeah.
Because it's such, I hesitate to say it's an easy medium, but it is very beginner friendly.
Yeah. Well, I think that makes sense. And I think a lot of it seems like something that even you can enjoy as a workshop, but still your prints are valuable also because you do the illustrations yourself, right?
Yeah.
So like I think a lot of like you are kind of on trend as far as what you're doing.
Butter
so even
prints?
Yeah. So even if you're like, I learned how to do this myself, I think I would still be buying prints because like my interpretation, even if I buy a kit to do at home and what you're printing are going to be very different.
Yes. I haven't been worried that like, oh my gosh, somebody's going to like learn this and then I'm going to have a competitor in the market. If somebody learns it and has their own style to do it, that's so cool. I'm like, yes.
Yeah.
Let's print together.
Yeah.
But I think of this more as like a lot of folks are just coming because they want a 2-hour time block where they're not doing something on their phone or like watching something.
Yeah.
It's just like a nice time to connect with. Like they come with friends and it's a good way to connect and do something tactile and really fun.
Yeah. So how do you find out about trends? Is it just like noticing? That's the thing.
Yeah. Just, I don't know. Like everybody's like, ooh, so, like they see my sardines print at a market and they're like, oh, sardines are everywhere right now. And it's like, yes, I also noticed that and made a sardines print. Like I'm not super fond of sardines. Like I actually would not open a can and eat one.
Yeah.
But I do love the print I made.
Yeah, like it's really cute.
Yeah, thanks.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's just like noticing what's going on around. And also just like seasonally, the farmer's market is happening. So back in January, I was drawing like what fruits and veggies I wanted to have for the farmer's market. So yeah, it's kind of just everywhere.
Yeah. Well, and I'm assuming you kind of have a mix of stuff that you're like, hey, this is selling a lot, so I'm going to make this, and then I just love this one.
Yes.
Yeah.
I'm trying to think about that. I just love this one.
Yeah.
It's funny. I just love the rainbow trout. I have a really big rainbow trout.
Yeah, it's really cool. Yeah.
Colors on, and I really love it. I think people are intimidated by the size, which is so funny to me because it's only 11 by 14, which when you look at it next to my 5 by 7 prints, it looks really large. But when you hang it on a wall, it actually is not that large.
Yeah.
But folks are always like, oh, that's just too big. Yeah. Like, I wish it was in a smaller size. So it's it teeters the line of being really popular, but also not selling.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah.
I wonder if there's a way to get it in front of the lake house crowd.
Yes.
Yeah.
Well, and that's who's buying it. They're like, oh, this is for my grandpa, for his lake house, or
Yeah. So. Well, that's really cool. So when you do events, it's not really like a workshop, right? Is it more like the vending machine when you do events?
Yes. Okay. So I do private workshops for folks. So if you have a group of 12 to 15 people and you're like, we would love to do a carving workshop, let's do it.
Yeah.
But I also do event pop-ups with the vending machine. So you can rent the vending machine and commission some custom prints for it, and I will bring it out to your event. So really specifically weddings.
Yeah.
You can use my whole catalog of prints. So if you have a funny story that includes butter and you really want your wedding to have a butter print in it, let's do that. But I'm working on one right now that's the venue for the couple, and then their wedding cake with their wedding date and their initials on it.
Oh, that's so cute.
And then a couple other fun Birmingham themed prints in it. And so it's a very fun, unique favor to give to folks. And the vending machines at these private events are free, so nobody needs quarters.
Yeah.
You just push the little slot in and you get your print immediately. Yeah. So that's really fun.
Yeah, that's such a cute favor. That's awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah. So they could, like you said, they could say here are some just not generic, but here are some love prints, or here are some whatever, or they can get a special.
Yes, I have a whole catalog of prints that you can pick from, or you're like, oh man, we really want our dog to be on a print, which would be a question mark for me because I don't love to do people's dogs because I don't feel like I'm super strong at drawing.
Well, it's hard to get I would think it would be hard to get the whatever feature makes it look like your dog.
Yes.
In that kind of print style.
Yes. Because I could probably draw your dog.
Yeah.
But then translating it to print with limited colors is the hardest thing for anything when I'm printing. Is how do I get this texture? I have to create texture.
Yeah.
Or I do a lot with blended colors to kind of bring it to life. But, a lot of times it's how do I make this look like this? And so, so maybe not your dog.
Yeah.
Yes. Any custom, I don't know, we have this inside joke about strawberries, and we'd love a strawberry print. So
that's awesome.
Yeah.
We did have a listener question. This is from Heidi. And I think she's Years of Happiness on Instagram. But she was asking, what do you want to do that you haven't done yet?
Print-wise?
I think she meant business-wise.
Life-wise, yeah.
We could go both. Yeah. In your life. What do you have your bucket list? Can you show us? Is there anything, I guess, with the print shop first that you're this would be fun, or is it just kind of you explore it as it comes up?
It really is. I explore it as it comes up. I feel like I'm in a great place right now. I love doing the workshops. I love doing the pop-ups. I love to just make new prints. I get you can't hear it on my Instagram videos, and maybe I should leave the sound on for you guys to enjoy. I squeal sometimes when I peel up the print and see something that I've made, and I have moments of joy doing that. I just feel like it's in a really good place. Sure, I'd love more people to buy more prints so I can continue to make prints. And I think that the biggest for the future would be the vending machine turning into more private event rentals and more weddings. Yeah. Just more prints in the world, honestly. Yeah. There's no big next step other than sharing my art with everybody.
Yeah. Well, I mean, that's a good next step.
Yeah.
And it's kind of nice, especially with a small business, to be able to kind of ride the wave of whatever is popular at that point.
Yes.
You've done so you've got you're in Cala and Little Professor, and then you've been in other businesses too, right? Is that because they see you in one of those businesses, or they see your Instagram, or?
Yes. When I popped the first machine up at Cala in August, and lots of people had seen it and were like, hey, can we have this at our shop? And so we did it at the Houseplant Collective. We did Cala's downtown location. I did Daily Edition in West Homewood, Little Professor's Homewood shop. So it's kind of popped up in other places from people reaching out because they either saw it on Instagram or saw it in a place. Yeah. Which, when I only had one vending machine, that was kind of it. Like, the vending machine would live for a month at different spots around town, and that would be the fun of it. But then Kala was like, hey, can we get a permanent one? And I was like, should I buy another vending machine? Yeah. And the Kala crowd loves these prints and goes through enough of them that I was like, okay, I will invest in another vending machine, and you can have a year-round vending machine. So then I was at 2, and then the Little Professor happened, that partnership happened, and I was going to have all of my prints there, and I thought, well, if I have all of my prints there, I have to have a tiny print vending machine there as well. Yeah. So then I bought a third tiny print vending machine. So I still have the one that kind of pops up around town. And then I bought a 4th vending machine. So it could be the private rental vending machine. So I have a vending machine that is free. Yeah. And it is for private event rentals and weddings. And then the third one, so there's one at Call It Coffee, one at Little Professor. The third one's actually in Nashville right now at Lady Bird Taco, because I had done some work with them here locally, and they were like, hey, we'd love to have this in Nashville. And I thought, I would love to put it in Nashville. That's up there for the month of April. Yeah. And then it'll come back and kind of float around. Yeah. Yeah.
Well, that seems like a perfect place also. Yes. Because you popped up in the Mount Brook one.
I did, yes.
At least a little bit.
Yeah. Okay. It was a tiny little pop-up there.
Yeah. I'm there a lot, so we live very close to. But yeah, they seem like a good fit too. Yes. And that, didn't you do a market in another, like you've done some events that aren't in Alabama, right? Or
I just popped up when I went to deliver the machine to Lady Bird last weekend. I popped up there as well, and did a little pop-up shop that was really fun, really great. The Nashville crowd was like, we love this. Yeah. We are buying it. Yeah, awesome. Super validating to hear that it exists outside of just Birmingham.
Yeah. So if people are looking to buy, and of course, like, go look at a vending machine, like, go to Little Professor so you can see more prints. But is Etsy a good place for you, or is it go to your website directly? Or what?
You can definitely find me on Etsy. Yeah. That's where I sell all over the country on Etsy. You can obviously go to the littleredprintshop.com and kind of see all of the workshops. My Etsy shop is linked there. Yeah. All of the places where you can find a vending machine. It's a hub for all of the information. But yeah, Etsy is a great place if you want to buy and you don't want to go down to Little Professor. But also shop local and go to Little Professor.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. Do you have but you have some bigger print. Do you have like the fish print on the Etsy store? And is that at Little Professor?
I do have the fish print on the Etsy store, and I have the big sunflowers on the Etsy store. But those I have to ship them in a tube.
Yeah. Okay.
So if you want that, buy it locally.
Yeah.
It'll cost you a lot more in shipping.
Has it been tough being on Etsy? Like, I feel like they are a little bit notorious for, like, if you're on vacation for 2 days and then people, like, complain that you weren't there. Like, I've heard a lot of vendors be like, it's pretty difficult to.
So I just set up my shop and I put on a vacation notification I close my shop when I'm like gone for I was gone for a week in February. Yeah. And I just close the shop.
Yeah. So it's not, Yeah.
And I'm a star seller on Etsy. Yeah, so it's been great to me. Yeah. But I'm also not getting mass. I'm not getting 40 orders a week that I have to be kind of on top of. But it's been a good platform. I've read all the things where folks are moving off of Etsy. Yeah. But it's worked for the low volume. A lot of my work and sales happens in person. Mm-hmm. It just is the nature of pop-ups and whatnot. Etsy is kind of my space to share it more because I have a big network of folks in St. Louis and Houston. That also wanted to buy the art that I can't pop up there yet and sell it to them. So it's a nice kind of thing to have there.
Well, it does seem like it's kind of accessible when it's a lowish-ish volume, and you're it's not ready to pay for an e-commerce site.
Yes, and having come from running and a Shopify, I just didn't want to do all that back end work. And when I was first starting out, nobody knew what the Little Red Print Shop was, so nobody was going to be searching for the Little Red Print Shop. With Etsy, I had a built-in search engine for relief prints, for block prints, for Linocut, for farmers market art, for kitchen art. So using search Etsy search, and really kind of taking advantage of their built-in audience already has been the best part. Do they take a lot of fees? Sure. Do I wish they took less money? Yeah. But I also don't think I would have gotten a lot of those sales on just having a website because folks didn't know and still around the country don't know who I am, but are finding my art on Etsy. So I think the positives there outweigh the negatives.
Yeah, I think that makes sense. Well, and also I would think some of your work before kind of like I would think you would approach it. You probably approach Etsy a little bit differently as far as like a little bit of SEO and like the kind of like what is selling here, what is smart to sell here.
Yes.
Whereas some people are just like, which I've done this too, but it's like, it's 10 p.m. I want to start my shop. Like I started it, and then kind of like stumble through it. And I think then is when it can get difficult because you can get some low ratings and it's hard to get out of that cycle, I guess.
Yeah. But I came from like the brand marketing I did was for an e-commerce brand. Not really. They sold but for a product-based brand. And so I knew how to make a product listing.
Right,
I knew that I needed photos. I kind of knew all of the steps that I needed to take and the SEO component, especially on Etsy. So again, that marketing background kind of fed into this because I knew the information I needed to give folks on these listings, and that's why it's been successful. I mean, it's like just under 200 sales, which to me feels really incredible for, I think I started it in maybe September or October of last year. So it's a great spot for other folks to find my work that are not in Birmingham.
Yeah, that makes sense. Well, and you mentioned like product photos, and you do have, we've talked about Instagram a few times, and you have good reels of like you making the blocks and stuff. Is that a burden for you? Is it fun? Is it both? Like making all of that content?
It's a little bit of both.
Yeah.
Like, thank you. Shout out to another local company, Canvas, because I use their
the
tripod
light
lamp thing for all my things. I did not sponsor it. I just bought it because I was like, I need something to hold my phone.
Yeah.
Honestly, don't think about it because I pop in an audiobook and I put my phone on record.
Okay.
And it just records the whole process for me. So like, is it annoying that I have to like make sure my phone's recording this? I will say like I carve a lot during the day because there's not good light at night, so like I can't carve in the evenings if I want to record what I'm carving. So like that part's maybe a little annoying, but I also have the time to carve during the day right now, and so
it's kind of built-in boundaries, like a little.
Yes, and so I carve like just making sure that I know what I'm carving, and if I want to make a video about this, then I have to like set up the tripod and make a video, but honestly, it's kind of easy because the process is like step by step. And so when I'm editing a video, it's like, just make sure you have these 6 steps in there and then you've got your video.
Yeah.
And it's been fun to explore that, but it's another creative outlet. It's, and I used to be like really serious about like, oh my gosh, the music, the meshes. And now I just like click the trending audio and I'm like, I like the sound of this. This is fun. I dance to this. So like then I throw it on the video and I like try not to overthink it.
Yeah.
Because I think with social a lot of times you can get burnt out if you're overthinking and like focusing way too much on, does this audio match what I'm doing? And like this specific shot of it. It's all kind of shot from the same angle. So it's not as burdensome as it might seem.
Yeah. Well, that makes sense, too, that especially if your variety of what you're shooting is coming from what you're carving and not feeling like I have to create a new scene every day.
Yes.
Is probably good.
Yes.
And I think that's probably a good tip for anybody who has a small business. Like, if you can find something that is repeatable that you can put a video on social.
Yeah.
Like, that's probably going to make it a lot easier.
Yeah. I mean, I have a formula down for it now, and like sometimes I shoot it in time lapse and sometimes I shoot it in regular. And like that's the variety of it because it's always a top down shot.
Yeah. And that's what the Canvas does, right? It's like kind of like a lamp that has a tripod in it that will shoot like the desktop.
Yes. And it's like it's like perfectly level and you can kind of move it around. It's very nice. I have both their lamp version and then just their tripod version for my desk. So I have both versions that I use, but it's just a nice phone mount.
Yeah.
And it makes it easy to shoot top down without other things getting in your way or like having it angled a little strangely, because I tried some other things and they didn't work. So it's been great. And honestly, like I throw my phone on there and then I get to work and
awesome.
And it works out really nicely.
Yeah. Well, good. I'm trying to think if there's anything else. I think we talked about like there are actually like so many ways to connect with you. There's workshops, weddings, so people should get married so they could have a
100%, yes.
Or
please
just have
get married,
or just have a big party.
It'd be great for a wedding anniversary Or just a birthday party.
Right, yeah. I do think that would be super, like some of those big parties or like, So big parties, they can come to workshops, they can buy prints out of the vending machines, they can buy other prints and collect. And you do have different sizes, right?
I do,
it's like the tiny prints in the vending machines, but
yes,
there are different sizes too.
Yeah, 5x7, 8x10, and 11x14. So they're all common frame sizes, so it's very easy to frame any of them. If you're, I mean, not that I'm like, frame my art. But if you wanted to throw it in a frame, because it is art, then it's very accessible frame sizes you can find anywhere.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Awesome. Well, the best way to get in touch with you is to find you at find you at local shops.
Yes.
And sign up for a workshop. And 100%. Then Instagram, what's your Instagram?
The Little Red Print Shop.
Okay, we'll link that in the show notes, and then it's littleredprintshop.com, is that right?
That's it.
Okay.
The Little Red Print Shop.
Okay, cool. Yeah. Awesome. Well, thank you so much.
Yeah, thanks for having me. It was fun to chat about this.
Yeah, I loved it. Thanks. The Localist podcast is written and produced by me, Carrie Rollwagen, and produced here at Infomedia. You can find show notes about this week's topic at carrierollwagen.com, and email us suggestions about post content, interview ideas, and anything else at podcast@carrierollwagen.com. Our showrunner is Taylor Davis, Jen Tucker is our outreach manager, and Elena Harmond is our promotions manager. So until next time, here's to thinking global by acting local and putting small shops before big bucks.